In a previous video, I showed how to install this electrical conduit and added these outlets for my garage. I later plan on building a large workbench for this area, so I decided this was a perfect spot to add some lights underneath these hanging shelves. So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step on how I installed these LED cabinet lights. Let's go. I spent quite a bit of time doing some research on the cabinet lights that I was going to use. I came across this InLight brand on Amazon and it ended up being perfect for what I needed. It was the right brightness at 480 lumens and also the perfect size for my shelves. The biggest deciding factor for me was the color rendering index number being at 90+. This really helps with colors when filming. They're also dimmable and have a 3-year warranty. I would mention too that I sent some questions to the customer service reps and had them all answered. So all around, I highly recommend these InLight brand lights. The external case is made both of plastic and metal, and to get to the internals, we're going to need to remove these 2 screws. Before I open it, I need to remove this back cover so I can pull through the wires. There's 3 pre-cut holes on the back of the light that I can pull wires through. I'm going to pull the wires in the middle through this back cover, so later I'll need to open it up. To get inside to the wires, I'll need to remove these 2 screws from the top cover. With it open, first thing to do is take out the bag with the wire caps, clamps, and screws. Set them aside because you'll want to use them later. The wiring for the light is very simple. There's a green for ground, a white for neutral, and a black for hot. If the ends are frayed, you'll need to straighten them out. Now that I've had a good look inside, I'm ready to wire it up. When you install cabinet lights in your home or kitchen, you generally hardwire them to an existing outlet. However, I'm going to splice my lights to this extension cord so I can move them around later. If you're ever doing any sort of electrical work, this tool that I'm using is the best tool you'll ever find. It makes cutting and splicing wires extremely easy. I'll have it linked below. To splice a wire, make a cut on the end, then use a razor blade to cut down the middle. Be very careful that you don't expose any wire. Next, grab some wire strippers and leave about a ½ inch of wire. Before you splice it with the light, you need to make sure that you find the wire with the extra markings on the side and connect that to the white neutral wire. The other side is smooth and will connect to the black hot wire. I grabbed a new light, and so we'll start step by step from the beginning. First, remove the 2 screws, then take off the top cover. Once it's open, remove the bag with the wire caps. Next, I'll need to remove the back cover. Then grab a flathead screwdriver and open up the pre-cut hole. With that open, I'm going to pass the extension cord through the hole into the light. After passing the wire through, you generally want to use the silver clamps to hold it down. The other option is to tie the wire off like this if you don't want it to slide out. Not using the clamps allows the light to be closer to the wall. I straightened out the frayed ends, then I was ready to splice the wires together. As you get ready to splice it together, remember the wire with the markings is the neutral. A quick side tip, there may be 2 different sizes on the plug outlets in your house. The larger side is the neutral. The wires feeding that side of the plug will be the white neutral wires. Another quick tip, when you're twisting the wires together, make sure you're rotating the direction that the cap's going to rotate. Generally that's to the right, so remember righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. The wired plug that I'm splicing to doesn't have a ground wire, so I'm just going to cap that off. Now that I've spliced the wires together, I can tuck it back into the light and then seal everything down. You can see here the reason we tied the knot is so the wires won't come out. Everything looks good, so I'm going to screw it down. Now it's time to test if I did everything correctly, so I'm going to plug in the light. Everything looks awesome, and I'm really pleased at the color and brightness of the light. With everything tested, I'm ready to go out in the garage and install it. To begin installation, I decided the first thing I needed to do was make sure the lights were centered underneath the shelves. The edge of the conduit was at 24 inches, the two studs total 3 inches thick, so it made it very easy to center the 18-inch lights. Now an awesome design feature of these lights is that you can pre-screw the screws. What I mean by that is the screws will stay in place even if the light's held upside down when you go to screw it in. Putting the screws in beforehand made the install so much easier. After putting in the first screw, I used a square to make sure everything was level. When I wired these plugs, I split the connection so the bottom half is always hot. The top half of the plugs are connected directly to the switch, so there's no power if the switch is off. After putting it in, I decided I didn't want 3 cords hanging down, so I grabbed a surge protector and I'm gonna run all the lights off this. This will also run off the switch, and I can hang it on the wall to hide all the wires. I'm gonna hang it by mounting 2 screws to the bottom of the shelf. I measured out the location of the screw sockets and was then able to slide it in place. Using a surge protector like this is much more flexible if you don't have outlets like I do. Next step is cable management, so I grabbed some of these staples to hold everything together. Using these staples and twisty ties or zip ties makes everything so much cleaner. I'll now only have 1 cord hanging down, so everything will be much cleaner. I repeated the same process for the second light by pre-mounting the screws and used a square to make sure everything was straight. Take the time to do cable management and everything goes so much smoother. When I added the second light, it was so bright that I decided I was going to add the third light in another section. So I need to drill a hole to run the wire. I used a spade bit to drill out the holes. To get the wire through, I had to disconnect it from the light, then reattach it later. Running the wire through the wood allowed me to hide it and made the install so much easier. Again, I took the time to clean up all the wires, and that made this project look so much better. And with that third light in, we're done here. I'm very happy with these InSight LED lights. I think they look fantastic, the colors are great, and they also don't use much electricity or give off any heat, so everything's very safe. Installing these bright lights will make it so much better when I work in this darker corner. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.